I'm Gab, he's Jules. Blue skies over West London. Jules, the Champions League. There's a lot to go into. Manchester City, remember Guardiola saying like the situation can get worse. We can face reality. I'd argue it did just get worse after what happened. We're going to get that later. We're going to talk about Paris Saint-Germain and your boy Luis Enrique. We're going to talk about Arsenal. How about that? Lewandowski, 100 goals. But we got to start between two clubs that have written the history of Champions League football. I believe, is it 20 Champions European titles between them?
Yeah.
Liverpool and Real Madrid. Liverpool just keep winning. And I was really impressed with this performance because when we talk about, from the Liverpool end, when we talk about maybe not, I'm just impressed by how different this is from last season, the way Liverpool are playing, how quickly they've adapted to this. And, okay, penalty missed on either side, Real Madrid, a ton of people out. I know we're going to end up talking about Real Madrid. Can we just give a little bit of praise to Arne Slot here?
Yeah, more than a little bit. It was one of the best performances of the season because we've said before they've won games where they haven't always played that great against Chelsea, against Arsenal, even against Southampton at the weekend. But this game, even against the Real Madrid kind of A-B team because of all the players out, they were so impressive and they even stepped it up in the second half. Bradley got more forward, for example. They committed more bodies. They were just even more precise in everything they did around the Real Madrid box. And they completely deserve that. I thought they battered Real Madrid. I thought Liverpool would win, but I just didn't think there would be so much difference between the two teams.
Yeah, there's a lot to suck into, and in the podcast bit later, I will write my Valentine to Arne Slot because I think so much of this is on him. But we'll talk about Real Madrid. We'll talk about Kylian Mbappe. Obviously, okay, let's get this out of the way. No Vinicius, no Tchouaméni, no Militao, no Alaba, no Carvajal. A lot of guys out. No Rodrigo. Fine. I think I saw Mbappe twice in this game. Once when he was wiped out by Connor Bradley. Tremendous. The kind of tackle where like all of after. Kind of tackle also that if he mistimes it, Mbappe's through and scores, maybe. That and the penalty. And I don't like breaking down penalty techniques because I figure, right, these guys are penalty takers. But it looked to me that if just the basic rules and watching, like I was watching on Sky Italia afterwards, a lot of Di Canio, people like that were talking about, if you're going to place a penalty at this level, you don't look back down at the ball. Like if you're going to look down at the ball, you hit it hard and into the spot. But if you're going to do the thing where you're going to wait for the keeper and try to fool the keeper, you have to look at the keeper until the end.
Yeah, it does.
That was weird.
It doesn't. It takes a lot of penalties like that, though. So this is not. It doesn't. He's not the kind of guy to wait like a Neymar and just see where the keeper goes and goes the other way. Yeah, I just think nothing is going his way. Unfortunately for him, it was a bad performance again. I'm not sure what Carlo Ancelotti tried to do, but with Brahim Diaz as a false nine and Bellingham quiet, it just didn't work out. And albeit
he's got to try different things.
Yeah, and against a much better team. But I think he's not helping Mbappe either. And I would always obviously try to be on Mbappe's side. It's just like, I think the penalty miss summed up his whole evening and probably a bit of the whole season so far.
Obviously, this isn't just going to be on Mbappe. I thought Real Madrid hung in there as best they could. You could see them picking their spots. I think if he puts the penalty away, I think you could see a situation where the whole mood changes. It's 1-1. Real Madrid maybe go into more of a lockdown mode, and then they see the game out. So that's why I thought
to get a draw, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
We've seen them do this before, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even at that point, Arne Slot says, you know what? Draw's not that bad a result with City coming up at the weekend, and the game could have kind of quieted down. That's why I thought it was a pivotal moment. Salah missing a penalty as well, also a technical thing, but we're going to get to that later on. Overall now, I think it's pretty much, I haven't seen the Madrid papers this morning, but I know what's in them. Clock ticking on Carlo, you think?
I thought that was super disappointing. I mean, Bellingham after the game was quite brutal in his assessment and said they wanted it more than us. We were never really up for this, and that's not acceptable, which he's got a point. Yeah, I mean, Carlo has at least the injuries, and they lost Camavinga too towards the end of the game, which is big. He was the best player in that game last night, and that is massive. So he's got that excuse if you want, which is true. I think a lot of teams and managers will struggle with all like those kind of key players missing. But yeah, you need to find solutions very quickly.
I think the clock ticks on every Real Madrid manager from the moment they take the job. It's going to tick on him even more so when you're Carlo's age, when you're in Carlo's contractual situation. Like, I think there's a reality here, which we've talked about since the summer. Real Madrid will win things because they generally have far better players than the opposition. But this is not a team that was built as a team. We can mention Toni Kroos leaving, not being replaced. You know, the club Carlo being told, oh, find an internal solution for Toni Kroos. Well, yeah, it's not that easy, right? Because, I mean, unless you want to put Luka Modric in a time machine, you're gonna have an issue there.
Yeah.
And then you add Mbappe to Vinicius, and 1 + 1 does not always equal 2 in football. Adding Mbappe to Vinicius means Vinicius, one of the greatest players in the world, has to change his game. And Mbappe, one of the greatest players in the world, has to change his game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So nobody's going to say, oh, I'm not going to show any sympathy for you because you've got Mbappe and Vinicius. That's fine. Nobody wants sympathy. But you have to realize that Real Madrid cannot operate as a team to the best of its ability. It will beat you. They will beat you because they have better players and individuals and Courtois and, you know, all these guys that have all this winning spirit and whatever. But this is not rational, right? I mean,
no. And they will get better anyway. This is like end of November, start of December. Comes March, they will sign a couple of players in January.
You really think so? Because all the indication is they will. I mean, I don't believe
Why would
them.
they not? They can't stay at this level. The more they play together, the better they will become. They will make adjustment in the squad.
No. About signing players, I'm talking. Because remember last year, this time last year, they said, no, we're not going to sign anybody. And then they didn't, and I didn't believe them. I'm like, haha, you're a bunch of Pinocchios. You're all lying. You will sign somebody. And then they didn't sign somebody. Like, what if they get it in his head that, oh, look, when Tchouaméni's back, he can be the extra center back. And look, this Asensio guy is really good. He did fine last night. I love the spirit. Not intimidated at all by Darwin Núñez.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, like, I don't know that I mean, they should.
Yeah.
But
I think they have the money. Maybe last January, they kept the money for the Mbappe deal that was awaiting and coming up. So I don't know. I would think that they will invest. So they would get better and they will improve. But right now, it's not a good look. The defeat last night, the one against Milan, the first half against Dortmund, the game against Stuttgart. In the league, like you said, they're still too good anyway, even after the Clásico. The Clásico is really the only thing, and they're 4 points behind Barcelona with the game in hand against Valencia. So they can easily be 1 point behind for all the greatness of Hansi Flick and Barcelona so far. So it would not be that bad in the league. But in the Champions League, wow. They've got Atalanta in 2 weeks' time. They can host Atalanta and get spanked.
Atalanta's away.
They're going away there. So
or given it's Atalanta, they could also win 3-0. But that's another issue. But no, and the last two are cupcakes. I think one is Salzburg and
Brest, the last one.
Hey, man, Brest, maybe not quite.
Brest in France.
Can you imagine it comes down to that?
Oh my God.
I don't know that they're going to make top 8. They'll be in the playoffs. I think definitely. Yeah. I think we're both very confident about that. But I think it is a question. I think it's getting to the point, just if you look at the longer term dynamics, right? Florentino's now 77, 78. Any new coach that comes in has to be aware that when you're at Real Madrid, you're not always going to make signings that are purely from the coaching side, but they're going to be from the star power, Stardust Real Madrid side.
Yeah.
Right. We've always seen this. Yeah. Going back to the Galactico era when those signings didn't make any sense, which by the way, I think is part of the reason in the Galactico era, I think they won the league once, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, right? Zidane, Beckham, the original Ronaldo, Luis Figo, and you win the league once, right? And Zidane, Esi Pavones, all that nonsense, right? But they won the Champions League. And they created and it reinforced the brand. So I don't know. I think it's a warning sign. Taking it to Liverpool, I'm going to go back to, look, there's a lot of individuals I think you can highlight
pretty
from this
much
game.
the whole team, yeah.
I want to highlight Darwin Núñez because I go back to this, right? He will miss goals. He's not always pretty to watch, but he gives you two things that I think he can control. One is he's an absurd athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, his movement is actually really, really good. Like there's a real brain at work there. And then, the technique comes and goes.
Yeah, and I think Salah and Diaz love playing with him more than with Jota. Jota is a better finisher and a very smart player too, and a really good player. But I think for Salah and Diaz, they love having Darwin, all the running, all the movement, the intelligence, as you said, the combination and how they can play with each other. I think is good. And for a game like yesterday, I think when he needed to lead the line, it was against Rudiger. It's a big battle. You have also Asensio that you can go and try to intimidate a little bit. He's the perfect player. And on another night, he could have had a goal or an assist, something like that, be even more decisive. But I just love him. And yeah, he could still be better. And I think he's still young enough to improve some areas of his game. But I don't really understand the criticism around him either. Okay, maybe the fact that he should score more. Yeah, okay, but
it's just that when he misses, he looks really bad, as a lot of larger players tend to do.
Yeah.
All right. A word on Salah. I thought that move, that leg breaker that won him the penalty on Ferland Mendy, I thought, man.
It's Messi on Boateng.
This is special.
Yeah.
And then the penalty, he seems to hit it with the outside of his laces, which I guess he scuffed the ground, do we think?
Yeah, as well, a little bit. It's unusual because the one at Southampton on Sunday, he hits it with the inside of his foot. But the one he missed at Bournemouth last season was like that. Exactly on the same side. He tried to hit it with a lot of power, if I remember correctly. So, I don't know. I guess sometimes you change where you're going to shoot and the way you shoot to surprise the keeper. And even more maybe when he's a big guy. Not that Courtois is great on pens, but he's still massive. So maybe forced it a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the very general rule of thumb, when facing a large keeper who he has those long spider-like arms, it's more difficult to place it. If you blast it, then you give yourself a better chance against that kind of keeper. Arne Slot. I just want to remind people, okay, about... I did not think he was going to be this good. I will hold my hand up. I thought Liverpool were going to be competitive, but I had no idea. Okay, so this is a guy who the biggest club he has ever managed in his life, Feyenoord, right? This is a guy who is going to one of the most... So he's making a huge step up in terms of magnitude of club. He's a guy who's replacing a legend in Jurgen Klopp. This is a guy who did not have the benefit of a single signing other than Federico Chiesa, who's hardly played...
Which I think is
over the summer.
The best thing that could have happened to him.
You can say it's a good thing. I would say it is a little bit, it's not necessarily a good thing. It's certainly a very unusual thing.
Yeah.
How often do we see a new coach come in and they get no signings whatsoever, right?
That's why I think it was great for him.
This is a guy who persuaded Ryan Gravenberch to learn a completely new, who's been, a promising young player, kind of in and out, whatever. He taught him an entirely new position. And he has absolutely excelled at it this season. I'm not saying Gravenberch is the best... And I'm not saying Gravenberch is Rodri all of a sudden, but he's made so much progress, especially in terms of maturity. That was one of the knocks on Gravenberch. He's immature, right? And this is not a position he's ever played before. I think that is absolutely huge. He changes the formation of the club because he did not just come and say, "Oh, let's do what Klopp did," right? He changes the whole formation of the club into a different system, right? They kind of went back to 4-3-3 last night, but generally it is more of a 4-2-3-1, which again requires adjustments.
Last night, with Curtis Jones played in that very free number 10 role.
He loses his goalkeeper, who happens to be one of the best goalkeepers in the world, for an extended spell, which I think also comes into it.
True.
And he has 3 of arguably his 4 best players who are in the final 6 months or the final year of their contracts, which is not a good situation for a coach. It's not like automatic, oh, look, they're going to play harder because they want free agency. No. It's not an easy situation for them. Yeah. Against all those odds, they have a huge lead at the top of the table, which I believe is 8 points, could be up to 11 if they beat City this weekend. They're top of the table in the Champions League. I imagine the analytics nerds will say, well, they'll regress to the mean a little bit. That's fine. Regress to this. The guy's done a phenomenal job. Oh, by the way, and not a peep of controversy, not a peep of unhappy players. You literally have...
I mean, if you can't be unhappy when you win like that, though.
but it happens. Not everybody gets playing time, right?
Yeah.
There are other things that come into it. I don't think it could have been. I don't think it could have been any better this year.
No, and we'll have to see, I guess, if they can stay at that level. I think they will play better as a team because there's still a lot of room for improvement. Yesterday, like I said, I think was maybe over 90 minutes the best performance that they've had this season. But can they keep winning and winning and winning like that? I don't think people would give them goals like they did against Southampton at the weekend. And so that would be maybe the more difficult. But he's been incredible. I remember watching their friendlies in preseason, and they looked already really good. And I put them second in my prediction on the FC show because I had a feeling they would have a good season. That good, no, obviously no, and I think nobody could have foreseen that. But yeah, I think he's good, and I really believe that the no signing in the summer really played in his advantage. No players to integrate, no wars of egos between the guy who used to play there before and the new guy who wants his place. Just have to focus on your tactics. It's the same group of players, which is a very talented squad already. Let's be honest. It's a great squad. It's a squad with leaders already. It's a dressing room. You don't move. Everybody still sits at the same place. They have the same lockers. They have the same numbers. And I think that's also happening because you just focused on the tactics and what to change, slightly tweaks, and they were on board very, very quickly.
And I'll add one last thing to see us out in terms of what really impresses me. Okay, it's not like I watched every minute of every Feyenoord game over the last couple of years, but I did see them in Europe, and I saw some beginnings there. They play different from Feyenoord, which is another thing. He's not just different to Klopp; he's different to himself as well. And to me, that is hugely impressive.
Yeah. He was very good at adapting to the Premier League.
All right, enough of Anfield. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Jules, the nightmare continues. Manchester City somehow go from 3-0 up to 3-3 with Feyenoord at home, all in the last 15 minutes. Like I said, it gets worse.
I mean, to be fair, this one, I really didn't see it coming. I didn't see them collapsing. Before, they've conceded goals. Back-to-back 2 goals in 3 minutes against Brighton, 2 in 5 minutes against Spurs at the weekend, but still 3-0 up at home in a game where they were the better team for 75 minutes. And then Pep made the wrong substitutions, maybe at the wrong time. He thought the game was won. And then once that first one goes in, and there's so many mistakes everywhere on the 3 goals they conceded, even senior players, younger players, everybody is all over the place. The line defensively, decision-making is wrong. Everything is so wrong that you go like, how can those players be that bad in those 15 minutes? It's unreal. And you see how much confidence they've lost, how much momentum they've lost, how much leadership in a way and character they don't really have because conceding 3 goals at home in 15 minutes in a game that you had under control before was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ugly. Obviously, Gvardiol, I don't know what's happened to him defensively. I think he can defend. I think he's a phenomenal all-rounder. We've seen this. He's scoring more goals. It comes at an expense. Bernardo Silva, I know the guy played him into trouble, but that is a brain fart situation. It just leaves you in shock.
Yeah, it's terrible. And Pep Guardiola walked back some of his comments, Gabi, that he made after that draw against Feyenoord, when he was asked about all those marks on his skull and on his head.
Yeah, so there's 2 different things at play now. First of all, that is a legitimate question. Anybody says, oh, why are you asking him about that, right? So he comes out, he's got these big marks on his head, he's got this thing on his nose. We know it's not something that happened post-game because I wasn't at the match, but you could see minute and in like the 70th minute, the scratches were already there. So whatever happened to him happened before that. He tried to turn it into a joke, saying like, "Oh, I'm hurting myself." Obviously, self-harm is not funny; it's mental illness. Well done, Guardiola, to go and walk back that comment afterwards. I think the story's still there. What happened to you? Because he didn't look like that before the game.
No, definitely. And the day before, when he did all the interviews with broadcasters and right holders, he didn't even have the one on his nose and the one on his lip because his lip was open too. But I don't know. But you know how much he's got that intent. He's intense so much, and he's
so intense that he starts scratching himself with his fingernail. It's possible. I don't know.
I mean, he's really into it.
Arsenal win 5-1 away at Sporting. Jules, it's the Gunners' biggest ever away win in the Champions League.
Yeah, and it was one of the best performances in a very long time. And Martin Odegaard coming back, Calafiori coming back, Timber coming back. We saw them against Forest at the weekend in the league, but they want to step up even more in this game. And Sporting are a good team, especially at home. They're not Inter or they're not Liverpool or they're not Real Madrid or kind of things, but they're still a good team, and they beat City 4-1, albeit in more of an even game than the result seems to say. But still, Arsenal could have scored almost 10 goals, I think. They were that good.
Gabriel trolling Gyökeres.
Yeah, although he was not really sure exactly how to do the whole thing. But yeah, really impressive. Inter, who've yet to concede, the only team with 5 clean sheets in 5 games. Our second night in the Champions League table, Gab. Castello Luqueba's own goal against Leipzig give them that 1-0 win, and Leipzig still no points.
Still pointless, I think is what's in the script, and they are pointless. That's the whole Red Bull pointless. No, just kidding. I look, we kid because we hate in this case. No, look, Leipzig have a bunch of injuries, whatever else. It's not just the defending, which is terrible. It's going forward as well. They created very little in this game. Inter did what Inter do. They took advantage of the mistake, but they have so much quality. He mixes things up. Like I said this down blue in the face. There is no coach in the world who rotates as much as he does and who's so flexible. They can go and they can press the life out of you. Yeah. They can sit back. They can play possession. They can do so many different things, so many different tools. And yeah, if you could do all that and have better players than Inter do, because they have some outstanding players, Bastoni, Di Marco, Lautaro, whatever. If you could do this with even better players, then they would win everything in sight. All right, Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
A blunder from Matvei Safonov, who is all kinds of wrong, from his stupid hair to the fact that he's playing. Means Bayern beat Paris Saint-Germain 1-0, as Ousmane Dembele also helpfully gets himself sent off. Yeah. It's the first one he could have avoided. I thought, Jules, your boys are still in the relegation zone.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. There's still 3 games to go, and they will play Salzburg, Man City, and Stuttgart, so they can still qualify, I guess, at least get to 10 points with 2 wins out of those 3. Should be enough. Might be enough. Could be enough. But
will be enough, I think.
I don't know. I think there were some good things in that game. The counter-pressing worked really well. Some of the ideas that Luis Enrique had going into the game and the way he set up, I thought was good. He made a few changes at halftime in terms of the way they would press, and the first 10 minutes until the red card in the 58th minute, they were the better team in that start of the second half. But then to go down to 10 after 58 minutes is hard. To have Safonov in goal instead of Donnarumma because he's a little bit better on set pieces, and guess what? He conceded a goal on set pieces. I'm not sure.
Is that the reason he gave? Not the usual, like, Donnarumma is not bad with his feet.
Well, no, that's Donnarumma's ugly. Safonov is a little bit better with his feet and a little bit better in the air. And that's...
Do you make a change for the Bayern game?
That cost you. I mean, Safonov played in the league as well on Friday. So it's 2 games in a row that Donnarumma is on the bench. I don't know. And to play with Barcola and Dembele up front, it's almost like playing with no forwards because they're no strikers. They are wide players for a reason, and they can't play in that position. So there was some good things, but a lot of not good things that led to against a really good team. Bayern were good.
Does this mean now that he's fit again, we'll see Gonzalo Ramos maybe, or is Mr. Pighead going to?
I pray for it.
He doesn't seem to like Asensio anymore, right? The Mr. False Nine.
No, he does. He loves him. It's just for that game he chose. But I think Colomwani would have been great for that game, but he doesn't like him. Yeah. He doesn't like him. So
whatever.
Aston Villa held to a 0-0 draw by Juventus at home, but Gab, Villa fans are furious by that Morgan Rogers goal that was disallowed deep in injury time.
Okay, so I think it would not be a scandal if Aston Villa had won this game. Juventus only managed 2 shots on goal, but one of them, a very good chance and a ridiculous save by Emi Martinez. By the way, his whole posture, everything he moves is so unorthodox, but so effective. On this goal, Unai Emery coming out saying, well, in the Premier League, well, first of all, good evening, but it's not the Premier League. Second of all, this goal would be disallowed in the Premier League too.
I don't. His arm. Of course, it's a foul.
There's 2 elements to this for me. One is it's his arm. Look, you're not allowed to challenge the goalkeeper. You're not challenging the goalkeeper if Diego Carlos is not allowed to use his arms, right? He's not around to catch the ball, to tip it into the net. He's not Maradona, right? This means that Di Gregorio, who is as tall as Diego Carlos, if not taller, He has both arms extended upwards. The ball's coming in. He tries to catch the ball up there. You're not challenging for the ball. You're challenging him. You're running into him. I don't know how this is even a debate. I thought Villa, despite the relatively disappointing results of late, I don't think they're playing badly at all. And I think they're going to be just fine. And I think they've shot at finishing top 8. Lewandowski backs 2 as Barcelona roll past Brest 3-0. Jules, please tell me the fairy tale isn't over for your little friends.
No, I don't think so. It's just I think this is the kind of game. So typically, it was their first big one away from home, because before that, they didn't have this like stellar game clash away from home, and this is a game that they lost before even playing it. They could not believe they were there. It felt like Disneyland Paris for them. The day before the game, everybody was saying like, oh, I've got to pinch myself to believe I'm here. Not that long ago, I was playing in the 3rd division. Now look, I'm here. Okay, not at the Camp Nou, which is a shame, but at Montjuic against Lewandowski, etc. And this is it. They were never really in it because they made mistakes. And I really believe this is typically the kind of game that you lose even before playing it, because you're just in dreamland, so happy to be there. But they can still qualify, and they will have.
They will qualify.
I think they play Salzburg so they've got Real Madrid, Salzburg, and maybe Juventus. I can't remember the third one, but yeah, they will. And in that game, Gabi, Lewandowski scored his 100th and 101 Champions League goal. Only 2 people ahead of him.
Yeah, and obviously there's no prizes for guessing who. It's Cristiano with 140, Messi with 129. I don't believe Lewandowski is catching either one of those guys. I don't think they're going to add to their total, although it might be fun to see Cristiano and Messi come back to the Champions League. What's interesting to me is the people behind them who could, the next people to get to 100 goals. Mbappe is 9th on 49. Haaland is 13th on 46. It's entirely possible they will get to 100 goals, but it's not going to be for a very long time. So Lewandowski will get to be in the top 3 for a very long time. That's a tremendous achievement. Yeah. Atletico Madrid stomp all over Sparta Prague away, 6-0. Cholo is happy, Jules, but Sparta pretty bad.
Oh, so bad. They're so bad, even at home. So bad.
It doesn't help with your goalkeepers. The first 2 goals.
The free kick from Julien Laurens is good. But yeah, there's a lot of mistakes defensively. They were all over the place. The keeper. I'm glad for Griezmann. That was his 100th appearance in the Champions League. He scored his 38 goals. He's got 13 assists. So almost a goal contribution every 2 games in the Champions League, which is a great. It's not at the level of Lewandowski and Messi and Ronaldo, but he's still very, very good. He's been great in this competition. And I guess it's always good when your team scores 16, especially if you're Cholo Simeone. Milan bounced back from that horrible draw at the weekend with Juventus with a 3-2 win away at Slovan Bratislava. Gab, did you learn anything?
Well, he rotated his squad a lot. He put in like a lot of the B team guys. Some of them I thought took the opportunity. Others like Okafor contributed nothing. And they were in control, I thought. And then all of a sudden they equalized, defensive mistake. They equalized 1-1. And, oh no, I got to put in Leao. And then you put in Leao and everything's good again because Leao had one of those days where he's unplayable. This just reinforces Milan with Leao are much, much better than without Leao. But he has to do his work off the ball, at least against the big clubs. Monaco self-destruct at home to Benfica and lose 3-2. Duels between defensive brain farts and Singo sending off. This wasn't great. You want to show Di Maria some love?
We have to, because at 36, he gave 2 more assists, 2 wonderful deliveries, the crosses, this incredible ability that he has to put the perfect ball for his forwards. But it's a shame for Monaco because, the red card is hard. But even after the red card with 10 men, they took the lead to go 2-1 up. And then when you think they could maybe see the game out, they don't defend well. I mean, Caio Henrique on the first goal is a terrible back pass with his head, and Pavlidis scores. And
this could cost them a place in this is the game where they'll look back and say, this cost us a place in the top 8.
Probably. I know they're not a real football team, just a bunch of young boys. I see what you've done there, Gabi. But how impressed were you with Charles de Keteler's performance in Atalanta's 6-1 away win at Young Boys?
2 goals, 3 assists, dispensing magic, left, right, and center from the Prince. I think one of the things that's special about Atalanta, every time we talk about them, I feel like we're talking about somebody different. Sometimes it's Retegui, sometimes it's Lukman, sometimes it's Ederson. Yeah. Soon it's going to be Scalvini, who's back. And I'll say this now, the best Italian defender out there, one of the best in the world, when fit. I am super impressed. They're rolling along, and I am so excited to see how they do against Real Madrid on December 10th. That's going to be huge. And they're 5th overall, by the way. Lille won't stop, Jules. How about their 2-1 win away to Bologna, who at least scored their first goal of the competition?
They did. And this was a good game, I thought. And Mukau was the hero for Lille. Defensive midfielder you would have probably not much heard of because this is his first season really in one of the big 5 leagues. Another really good collective performance without Zegrova, who was only on the bench. They could have scored more goals too. They had a bunch of kids that did really well on the wings. I'm just so happy for them. They deserve everything that is happening to them in the Champions League.
Bologna are the epitome of the team that try to play really good football, but the players aren't good enough and they make stupid mistakes.
Jamie Gitton scores a beauty and Borussia Dortmund roll over Dinamo Zagreb 3-0. Gab, 2 convincing wins in a row now for Nuri Sahin.
I'm not. Again, it's Borussia Dortmund, so I still reserve the right to be skeptical. But look, they're right up there. They got a legit shot of finishing top 8. Well done to them. Not a great round for the MCO boys, Jules. Girona lose to Sturm Graz as Ivan Martin misses the mother of all sitters.
Oh my God, 0-0. I think 20 minutes in, he was supposed to be on the bench and not start, but then he replaced Van der Beek at the last minute, which is not an excuse, really, or a reason why you should miss that one. But if you haven't seen it, go and check it out because it's really embarrassing but quite funny as well. And you must be really bad to lose to Sturm Graz. That's all I would say.
Sturm Graz way ahead of Salzburg in the Austrian league.
After scoring 5 at the weekend, Bayer Leverkusen stomp all over Salzburg 5-0 again. Gav, I bet you feel sorry for another of the Red Bull teams.
Yeah, this is terrible schadenfreude for them. You know, it reminds me of Enron, like the smartest guys in the room. Remember, all those analytics nerds, those Bundesliga nerds, like, oh, Red Bull, blah, 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 they're so much better, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, how's it working out for you this year? And you know what? I don't think it is all Rosa and Leinders being terrible. But we have to praise Bayer Leverkusen. Another reaction, another big win. They look focused ever since that 29-minute mark when they pulled one back by being 2-0 down at Heidenheim last week. I've been impressed. And Florian Wirtz, some long-range ballistics from him. And Grimaldo, too. Celtic are held at home by Bruges. And Mr. Champions League, Hans Anaken, gets a point at Parkhead. I had to start, Jules, with that horrible goal to concede by Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for him. If you're a young player, or even not just a young player, never pass the ball without looking where your goalkeeper is, and certainly don't pass the ball toward, like, that can go in the goal. Massive miscommunication, misunderstanding, whatever you want to call it, between Kasper Schmeichel and Carter-Vickers. In the end, Celtic get a point. I think they got even a bit lucky to get that point because I thought Bruges were really good on the night. Great goal by Maeda to make it 1-1. Really, really good goal. Really good goal. But that's a missed opportunity for Celtic at home.
Bruges, I think, are actually a good side. I think they're
doing a great job.
Yeah, it's easy to underrate them. But the interesting thing was, it was reported that it was so loud, you just couldn't hear each other. So it was a pressing. You should go to YouTube and check this out. But basically, it's a pressing action. They're trying to play from the back. Celtic, by the way, not used to being pressed, obviously, given that they play in the SPL, and which is not the Saudi Pro League. It's the Scottish Premier League.
That's right.
But they've obviously worked on this. It's simply that Schmeichel runs out to receive the ball at the near post or just outside the near post.
Yeah.
Cameron Vickers doesn't know that he's there. And one of the explanations, and they are talking and shouting to each other. One explanation I heard is Celtic Park is just so freaking loud because those fans are
That's
so
what Schmeichel
noisy.
said, but Carter Vickers just has to look where Schmeichel is. The talking is just not enough, I think. It's a shame for them, but yeah. Gab, it's Peter Bosch, so we won't get too excited and carried away. But how about PSV Eindhoven's comeback at home against Shakhtar Donetsk?
So Shakhtar Donetsk go 2-0 up. And Peter Bosch is absolutely furious.
Yeah.
Now, they made it 2-1 in the 86th minute. They end up winning 3-2. Ricardo Pepi scoring the winner again after his hat-trick at the weekend. Man is in fuego. But I will say this. To me, Peter Bosch's reaction says it all. The goal goes in. It's 3-2. Everybody's celebrating. Peter Bosch is still sitting on the bench with his arms crossed, and he is looking grumpy. Yeah. He is fuming. And you know what, Peter? I know I've given you so much stick over the years. I like this about you because you should not be happy at the goals you conceded. Yeah. You should not be happy at needing this comeback. And by the way, it's a very lucky comeback because I think it was the It was the goal that made it 2-1, or maybe it was a 2-2. The goal
the Tillman, the first one, the free kick.
No, the Riesnick one where the goalkeeper basically pulls the ball into his own goal.
Yeah,
and I really feel for the keeper there. This was not quite as bad as Safonov, but it wasn't far off. He doesn't kind of realize where he is. He pulls the ball into him, and in so doing, he pulls it across the line. But yeah, not a good goal. And I think for Shakhtar also, when Pedro Enrique got sent off, a little harshly, I thought, that changed the game. Red Star Belgrade come from behind to destroy Stuttgart 4-1. Jules, this was a little out of the blue.
Completely, and Stuttgart taking the lead as well with Demirovic after a few 5 minutes or so. And I didn't see this one coming, and they kept being open on counter-attack and attacking transition from a good Red Star Belgrade team. Really, Silas was on fire, Ndiaye as well, Maximovic. It was good, and Silas, the former Stuttgart player, obviously, who scored the first goal to make it 1-1 and really started the demolition of Stuttgart. I mean, the lack of reaction from Hoeneß and Stuttgart was also quite interesting, because it looked like there was nothing he could do to just change the way the game was going, and they kept being punished each time. Not really the kind of stuff that Stuttgart used to do.
I think Red Star Belgrade have some really good individual players.
They're a good team. According to reports, the hearing into Manchester City's 115 charges is almost over. And now both sides are preparing their closing arguments, Gab. Does this mean that we will get a resolution soon?
Well, there's very, very few leaks coming out of this. One of the leaks is that the hearing will take about 10 weeks. And lo and behold, it's been 10 weeks. So if this is accurate, they'll have the closing arguments, then they'll go away. And these being lawyers who charge by the hour, presumably, they'll take a long time to think about it. What's interesting to me is that while it's entirely possible that we will get a resolution to this before Christmas, immediately there's like a counter leak saying that, well, yes, but then if City lose, then they'll appeal. And if the Premier League lose, they'll appeal.
And that can take up to a year, no?
I mean, that can take up to a year. And I'm kind of like, oh my God. Like, seriously? Like, how much longer is this going to drag on? No, but seriously, is this why Pep extended his contract? Because he's like, either way, no matter whether we win or lose, there's going to be another appeal. Yeah. I absolutely hate this. Lamine Yamal wins the 2024 Golden Boy, the award given to Europe's top under-21 player. Not a surprise, right, Jules? Wait, did Real Madrid all stay home because Arda Güler didn't win?
Oh my God, that's a
good
point.
Just wanted to check.
I'll check this out for you. I mean, the most one-sided trophy, award, whatever you want. He won. I'm lucky and privileged to be one of the voters.
You're on the jury.
Boy. I'm the jury, yeah. And I voted for Lamine Yamal, obviously, with Warren Zaïre-Emery being still quite high in my ranking. But yeah.
Actually, how many actually shed the light. You're not a Ballon d'Or voter yet, but you do get to vote for this. How does it work? How many players can you choose?
Your top 5.
And can you share who you voted for other than Lamine Yamal?
Yes, if you give me a second.
Oh, he needs to check his phone.
Yeah, because it was a couple of months ago, maybe. So I need to find the.
But I think we're all in agreement. Lamine Yamal, there's no way anybody else is winning this award. Not because there aren't other ridiculously good players under the age of 21 out there, but simply because he's Lamine Yamal and he's been phenomenal. And Spain won the Euros.
Yeah. So mine were Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubasi, Warren Zaïre-Emery, Kobe Mainoo, and Kenan Yildiz.
Interesting. No Arda Güler in there.
No in my top 5.
All righty. So that'll be Florentino on the phone.
Sorry, Florentino. Sorry. It's nearly December and Chelsea still don't have a shirt sponsor, Gab. How big a blow is this for them?
And Chelsea-related quick hit. I thought you were going to ask me about former Chelsea star Frank Lampard Jr.
Frank Lampard had a job. Good for him.
I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. He's the new Coventry City boss.
Yeah, in the Championship, your favorite league.
On his way back. Are Coventry City going to come up? Are they likely to?
I mean, I don't think so. They're quite far away from the playoff. But last season, obviously, came really close.
Did they? All right. Maybe one day. He replaces Mark Robbins. See? Former Manchester United striker, Mark Robbins, right?
Yes.
There you go. See, I know my championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you asked about the shirt sponsors. I know this is what you really want to talk about. So the reason this is relevant, not just that it's odd to see a team without a shirt sponsor and not by choice, it's that Chelsea had budgeted reportedly 60 million in income from their shirt sponsor this season. And that is what they're asking. Now, obviously, nobody wants to kind of undersell their sponsorship. The thing is, it's now nearly December, and they don't have a shirt sponsor. They've been in talks with people. People have offered. They haven't come close to the 60 million. This is all money they're not getting. If somebody comes in now, they're not going to pay 60 million. They're going to pay it prorated over the season. So there's going to be another hole in their finances, which they may not have budgeted for. And again, more issues with financial sustainability potentially on the doorstep.
Last season already, remember, it took them a while until late in September, to get
Infinite Athlete.
Very memorable sponsor.
Yeah, we're gonna go out and get ourselves a couple pints of Infinite Athlete after the show, actually. Ruud van Nistelrooy is reportedly on the verge of being the new Leicester City manager. Good choice, Jules.
You see what 4 games at the helm of Manchester United can do for you, Gabby. This is it. I mean, I don't know if it's a good choice. Nobody knows. Yeah, he had a good season at PSV Eindhoven, and they did nothing until those interim 4 games while Ruben Amorim was on his way. And he did well in those 4 games, unbeaten, etc., blah, blah, blah. But I don't know.
I don't know. If you hired him based on those 4 games, it's wrong. Yeah. It's stupid. It's not how you think. Oh, and by the way, didn't they beat Leicester twice in those 4 games as well? Yeah. Like, oh, look, who's that guy with the long face? Let's go for him.
Yeah.
He looks familiar.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm hoping this was in the process. I'm hoping Leicester are a well-run club with people who know what they're doing.
Think so.
And he did a search.
You would think so.
But yeah.
Let's see. Referee David Coote, remember him? Already suspended after videos emerged of him saying he dislikes Jurgen Klopp in other terms and snorting some white powder as well. Is in more trouble.
Yeah, so one of the papers here in England reporting that he met somebody online and that to impress this person he met, they had a conversation. He was refereeing a Leeds game. The person said, "Oh, hey, the issue came up. How about you book a player? I think it was Alioski, and whatever." They joke about putting a bet on, and then afterwards he allegedly texts them and says, "Oh, look what I did! Ha 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 he he." Dude, and he's just a statement saying, whatever my personal problems off the pitch, like trying to impress somebody you met online by showing your great power and coolness as a referee, they've never impacted my ability, my job on the pitch. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that you are completely blameless on the pitch.
Yeah.
This is now 3 different things that have come up,
which so stupid.
Which the whole issue with referees, you must never be in a position where you can be blackmailable or somehow influenced. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like we said, his career's over. I feel for him a little bit, but I do question. You have to do your research on these people. You have to know before you go and you promote them through the ranks. It's not just about being able to spot fouls on the pitch. How he could have got this far when clearly he makes such poor decisions outside of his day job.
It's mad. It's mad.
Tottenham kick off against Roma in a few hours in the Europa League. Jules, they'll be without goalkeeper Guillermo Vicario, who we have now learned played more than an hour with a fractured ankle against Manchester City. How impressed are you? Big Ange saying he's hard as nails.
Hard as nails.
And how big a blow is it for Spurs that he'll be out for months?
So that's a massive blow. And they have Fraser Foster. Remember him? The giant, the friendly giant. Who's going to play in goal, who's not very good anymore, obviously. So no offense,
but he's
Fraser.
very big.
He's very big, but he's not very good. Funny. You can't go down.
He has a long way when he comes down.
Exactly.
No, but George,
they will sign somebody in January.
You think so?
100%. They can't stay with Fraser Foster.
Well, they said, first of all, they have like Alfie Whiteman and some. They have 2 other like goalkeepers who are not kids on the bench.
Yeah, but still.
I think it depends how long he's out for, because Ange said, no, it's not weeks, it's months. If it's 2 months, it's one thing. If it's 5 months, it's another thing. Obviously,
of course, but
ankle pretty important to a goalkeeper. But I just think it's funny. Remember all those times like Vicario, like, mean bully types, like say Gabriel go up to him and like harass him on corner kicks and be like, hey, Vicario needs to be stronger. He's too weak. He's not comfortable on crosses. And now all of a sudden he's gone, and all of a sudden, the world falls out. Well, guess what? Fraser Foster won't be bullied by anybody. If Gabriel or somebody else goes and tries to do that, Fraser Foster will turn you into a little puddle of oil.
Yeah. It's better if Fraser Foster can save some shots more than bully people. But hey, whatever works for him. Ajax play Lazio in the Europa League on December 12th. And the mayor of Amsterdam has Banned. Lazio supporters from traveling from Rome or from wherever they live to Amsterdam, which is not a surprise, but the club is furious.
Yeah, they're really angry also because they put the tickets on sale. This is obviously a reaction, I think, to what happened when Maccabi Tel Aviv came in. There's a political backdrop to this. Lazio described as very right-wing fans.
Yeah.
Complicating this whole thing is, yes, they do have some very right-wing fans who in the past have marred themselves with violence. I'm not sure where this stands vis-a-vis the previous set of fans who are from Israel and therefore Jewish, but whatever, that's a whole other issue. I don't want to get into that. I have to be consistent here. I think a city has to come first. A mayor has a responsibility. If you think that a traveling set of fans is going to create problems for normal people who just want to go to work and come back. I said the same thing when Feyenoord went to Rome. There is a bit of an underlying sort of Holland-Rome thing, really, thing going on. You have to do what's right because you have a responsibility to look after people who live in your city. And that, to me, supersedes football. It's time! It's Texter time! Leon may be facing relegation, but Jules, Botafogo, John Texter's Botafogo, flying in Brazil. Is it Palmeiras they just beat?
They beat Palmeiras, who is second in the table. They're 3 points clear now with 2 games to go, so they can still blow this one up. And bottle it. But it looks very good for them to win the title for the first time in a while. And they also play, obviously, in the Copa Libertadores final this weekend, so they can win the double within a few days, which for John Texter will be pretty special.
Yeah, can I also say something? This whole thing about, obviously he's got a lawsuit going on, so I'm going to be careful what I say here, right? But the implication is that referees are somehow against Botafogo and stuff like that, right? Well, if they're against Botafogo, I think we're seeing this season, or some cynics might say it's because there's a lawsuit going on that Botafogo can be top of the table this year because referees are maybe extra careful not to be against Botafogo. I don't know, but it's remarkable, though, how some Texter teams do so well and other Texter teams not so much.
Guess who's staying for one last dance in Miami, Gab?
Luis Suarez, that's right. I mean, to me, this was not a surprise. To me, I'm going to be the same way Mascherano, whose the job is now official
now,
not really a surprise. Like, it's Lionel Messi decides.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with it because Lionel Messi represents some crazy percentage of your budget. You've gone all in on this, and it's fine. If you want Luis Suarez there. From purely a football perspective, you'd have to look, how much is Luis Suarez costing you? What is he producing? Could there be an alternative elsewhere? And how do you weigh that against Messi being happy and having his friend there? You know what? Messi being happy, probably more important to Miami.
And they're trying to extend Messi's contract as well for after the 2026 World Cup. So he probably will stay as well, no?
Yeah, but if I'm Messi, I don't sign anything. I just wait, right? I mean, and see what frame of mind I'm in. You've earned that luxury.
Yeah.
Sky Germany report that United are targeting one of 4 center forwards in January.
Wow.
Jules, you have those 4 names there? Please rank them by fit and cost.
So I would assume that it means that one of Holland or Xerxes would leave in January, because what would be the point of getting a third number 9 when you play with
Xerxes your number 10 now, right?
Well, you can't play number 10.
Let's make this judgment based on 90 minutes against Ipswich.
Not even 90 minutes.
Yeah, not even 90 minutes.
30 minutes. So we've got Omar Marmoush on the list, Victor Osimhen on the list, Randal Colomwani on the list. Why? And Victor Boniface. If we rank them, I think we're pretty in the agreement that we go Osimhen first, then Boniface, then Marmoush, then Colomwani.
Yeah, Boniface, I think, injured right now.
Yeah, he's injured right now, but if he was fit, I think, even if Marmoush is having the season of his life so far and a better season than all the other 3, in terms of talent and all-around ability, I think Osimhen, Boniface, Marmoush, Colomwani is right.
I think that's right. I think in terms of how expensive they are, unless you want to do a loan, like a try before you buy,
True.
I would assume Colomwani, despite whatever denials may be coming from PSG, if you go there and you say, hey, can we have Colomwani on loan so that Luis Enrique doesn't have to see him, especially now that Gonzalo Ramos is fit again?
They're driving to Manchester.
Yeah, sure, go. Take him. And I think Colomwani is actually a high-energy player.
Yeah.
From purely a goals perspective, if I were Mark Ogden, I would beat the drum that I've been beating. United need to score goals. There's nobody scoring goals. You need to score goals. If you want goals, I think Osimhen is your man out of these four. I know Marmoush is scoring a ton this season, but this is kind of out of the blue a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Unexpected.
Osimhen's going to cost you 65 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Plus a really big salary.
He's back to his best pretty much with Galatasaray. So.
Yeah, the only thing is if you sign Osimhen, you got to sign him long term.
Yeah.
Boniface, I don't think there's any way Xabi Alonso was saying, I stuck around. No, you're not taking my Boniface away from me this season.
True.
So I think Osimhen is the only real
Marmoush will stay until the end of the season as well. I don't think he'll move.
But we don't think they're signing any of these guys, do we?
No.
Unless they suddenly fall in love with Colomwani.
Yeah. Enzo Maresca denied reports that Christopher Nkunku is not happy and pushing for a move away from Chelsea in January, and he insists he's not for sale.
Okay, well, first of all, Enzo Maresca doesn't decide who's for sale and who's not for sale. True. As if Christopher Nkunku, or Christo, as he calls him.
That's his nickname, yeah.
That's his nickname. There you go. See, you learned something new. Yeah. I think in reality, the dude's not playing. And Maresca gives this whole explanation. Well, I have so many attacking players. Nkunku, Joao Felix, blah, blah, blah. He's the backup center forward. The funny thing with Maresca is he needs him as the backup center forward, even though I don't think he's a center. I don't think that's his best position because there's nobody else unless
Marguyu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like when you get a big cardboard cutout instead. So Chelsea can't let him go unless they find somebody else who they trust as a backup center forward. And by the way, every night Enzo Maresca goes home and he lights a little candle that Nico Jackson doesn't get injured because otherwise,
he's in trouble.
So Amari as Maresca. You understand me when I say that. He also said that there's no time frame on Reece James's return.
That's really sad.
It's sad. I think you also understand why certain people at the club are making certain decisions. I think if you're Chelsea, if you can get a fee for Nkunku, if you're Chelsea, actually, I think realistically, what you hope for, he goes on a tear in the Conference League, and then you get an offer in January, and you get some money in, and then you use that money to buy an alternative to Nico Jackson, because you cannot think that Nico Jackson is a bionic man and will just keep on playing week in, week out.
That's true.
The extortion trial pitting Paul Pogba against one of his brothers and 5 other people has begun. Jules, remind us what this is all about.
Yeah, I think this is an incredible story that we've mentioned many, many times on the show. 2 years, in March, it will be in March 2022 when Paul Pogba was in Paris to go with the national team during an international break. He went back to the council estate where he grew up in the east of Paris to see some of his friends. And then some of those friends, childhood friends, best friends, like brothers, said to him, we just want to show you something in this flat nearby. So off they went to that flat. They went upstairs. And next thing Paul Pogba knew, he had 2 guys with balaclavas and Kalashnikovs pointing the guns at him, asking for 13 million euros, 1-3, in payment for the security that they provided him for all those years, which they never really did. But basically wanted some of his own success to be shared, which is something that Paul Pogba has always done with those people who try to extort more money from him, giving 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, 50,000 there and there for them and their families. Some of them lived with him. Some of them he paid regularly to just drive him around or drive his mum around. And obviously, he went to see the police and said, this is what happened to me. They tried to extort money. They threatened him. They threatened his family. It's a horrible story. It's a very ugly story. Unfortunately, I think this is a story that is quite common within football right now and professional players, not just in France or in Paris, but for a lot of those guys, especially the ones who grew up in a tough environment, that people around you or who grew up with you want to benefit from your success as well.
I think what makes this to me even more horrible is that, it's one thing people you grew up with suddenly putting pressure on you or whatever. I mean, that's horrible. And that's rough, as well as obviously the trauma of, I don't know how often Pogba's had a gun pointed at him. I'm assuming even in a tough place like where he grew up, probably not very often. Yeah. 2 guys in balaclava pointing machine guns at you, that is terrifying. But one of these people is he has 2 twin brothers. no, not his twins, but the twins of each other. If you see what I'm saying.
older brothers. Yeah.
One of these guys is directly implicated, right?
Yeah, he's in there. He's part of this team of 6 people who try to extort the money. Maybe himself under pressure too from the other guys because he's the brother. But they went to see their mums and put pressure on the Pogba's mum. The whole thing is just like literally it's a Hollywood, it's a movie, it's a Hollywood movie, but also a horror story and an absolute nightmare that I think Pogba is hoping that this whole trial will just put an end to.
I'm biased here because I've met the guy, I've spent a little bit of time with him, nowhere near as much as you have. But when all this stuff is going on in your background, so this incident with Kalashnikov was 2 years ago, but presumably it's not like that came out of the blue. Presumably he's had to deal with this pressure throughout his career. I'm wondering if that puts some of the issues he had at United with managers, off the pitch, performances, if that puts it into a certain kind of context.
Yeah, completely. Gab, the Club World Cup has its second sponsor, the people who make Budweiser, the drink. I've joined Hisense, but FIFA still have work to do.
They have a lot of work to do. Now, just for content, this is, I think it's called AnBev. They're the brewer who they make Budweiser and other name brand beers in the US. They're already a World Cup sponsor. So basically what FIFA did was like, hey, you guys are already sponsoring the big World Cup. Why don't you sponsor this one too? And so they reached a deal there. So we don't know how much it is or how relevant it is, but it's not a new sponsor coming in. Yeah. Hisense, I just like mentioning them because at the Euros, they had such an unusual...
Are they a Euros sponsor, no?
They were sponsors at the Euros. They make televisions. And they said, we're number 2. That it was literally...
that's right.
You remember this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I mean, it's factually correct. It's would you weird that you say, should I buy whoever number 1 is? Well, Samsung, I believe. Like, I just thought it was sweet. But hey, like maybe it's genius because we're mentioning Hisense here and we went otherwise. The reality is FIFA have a big hole to make up for the Club World Cup if they're going to be able to offer the kind of money that they promised to the big European clubs for playing in it rather than going on tour. It's not just the broadcast money. It's also going to be the sponsors, the commercial partner money. And by the way, on the broadcast front, we don't know who the U.S. rights are going to. Who knows? Maybe it'll be us. I don't know. But I don't think so. Or maybe we'll. I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't think so. But remember this. Fox, when you buy the FIFA rights, you buy the whole package of the men's, the women's, the U17s, the futsal, and blah, blah, all this nonsense, right? And you also buy the rights to the Confederations Cup.
So
this tournament replaced the Confederations Cup. So from Fox's perspective, they're like, well, wait a minute. This is part of the package that we bought.
For a lot of money. Yeah.
For a lot of money. Now it no longer exists. So, and then you want us to bid on this because it's a new competition. Yeah. We need to factor this into the price. And so I think, I don't know which way it's going to go. But long story short, there is a lot of work to do and not a lot of time. And the draw for this, by the way, December 5th. Gareth Southgate, the former England manager, got very philosophical earlier this week. He said he's considering a career move that could take him outside football.
Yeah.
Jules, please don't be mean about this. Say, no. Does this mean you're going to go do something that you're good at or something like that?
You're so good at reading my mind. But I won't do it. I think he's very smart. He's got great qualities. His social skills are wonderful. And I think he could do a lot of really good things outside of football. Inside football if he wants to, of course. Just not at my club. Or yours. Or Prince of Freddy's. But yeah, I think I'm not surprised, let's put it. I'm more surprised that you put it on LinkedIn. Why does it live like...
well, LinkedIn is where you go to, you get a little open to work thing if you're looking for a job. No, look, joking aside, I have a lot of respect. Me too. Not only do I genuinely like the person because he's a good person, which is more important.
He is.
To look at this and say, listen, I reached 2 European Championship finals. Am I actually a really, really good coach or is this my ceiling? Like, can I go somewhere else and do better than what I did with England? And do I have other interests? He obviously does. He talked about some of the charities he's involved in, whatever. Max respect him. Maybe he doesn't want his whole life defined by having been a professional footballer and having been the England coach.
Yeah.
He's also other things. He's a husband. I don't know if he has kids. I assume he does. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can give more. I really I'm being completely serious now. I have more respect for Gareth Southgate than a ton of other people.
The Santiago Bernabeu has been redone, as we know, and has an official capacity now of 78,297 seats. But Gab, Florentino Perez wants to make it even bigger.
What is the biggest number? When you were a child, right? And you say like, oh, times 100. No, times 1 million. What is the biggest number you can think of?
Like trillion?
No. Okay, I'd say trillion and one. It's infinity.
Infinity.
This is where he wants to go, to the moon and beyond, to infinity and beyond.
Like Buzz Lightyear.
Well, basically, what he's saying is they're negotiating with Apple TV. They want to create what they call the infinite Bernabeu, because you can't fit all the Real Madrid fans in the world in the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
So he's going to make an infinite Bernabeu. Of course, this is our old friend, virtual reality, augmented reality.
Yeah.
Those stupid ass glasses, the Vision
mask.
Pros, the Oculus. Seriously, I don't. Have you ever tried them out?
No.
Okay, as far as I know, only like nerds and weirdos do this. No, gamers. I think it's fine for gamers.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if this is how you get your jollies, if you can make some money off of it, obviously Apple's a very prestigious company, although I think their glasses haven't done too well, but whatever. Go for it. People like this, that's fine. But I can assure you, it's not like being at the Bernabeu. I'm not even sure it's the next best thing. Just get yourself a nice big screen TV, if you can afford it, and enjoy the game there. Jules, this brings us to an end.
Yeah.
But we have potentially a season-defining match in the Premier League this Sunday. That's right. Chelsea taking on Aston Villa. No, just kidding. It's Liverpool against Man City. So we're going to be back on Monday. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.